All right. The Expanse, episode 4, season 1, CQB, Close Quarters Battle. Referencing series and the Donager. Jamming, okay? All right, I have more to say about jamming, but I'm going to save it to the very end because I feel as if I could probably talk for 5 or 10 minutes on exactly why I have issues with the jamming and how it's brought up. But just because a character says their jammers are in range doesn't inherently and explicitly mean the jammers are turned on or attuned to the proper frequency or that they're ready to intercept that message. So that's fair enough. Reading the comments there. Fair enough. I have a problem with it, and it's related to like storytelling and script writing holistically, and I'll explain why that specific line bothers me so much. But again, I'll just put it at the end because I don't think, for the people who don't care about the jamming, the points that people made in the comments, it's fair enough, and that makes sense. For the people who want to understand how I got to my conclusion for it, and even if you don't agree with the conclusion I got to, hopefully you can empathize and understand, okay, all right, that makes sense how he got there, even if I don't really give two shits about the jamming stuff. But anyway, that's going to be at the end because I think that's going to be long, and nobody cares about that. Somebody also left a comment saying that I need a notepad. I got to start taking notes. And that got me laughing because I'm imagining as the episodes go on progressively, like my hair just gets frizzier and more unkempt. And I have bigger and bigger bags under my eyes like I'm not sleeping. And if you've seen Sherlock, forget which one where he jumps off the building and then the next season starts with that one dude and his entire apartment is covered in photos of Sherlock. And I'm imagining like my whole back wall, I've ripped off all the photos, the guitars and piano and drums are gone. And there's just a photo of Holden in the middle. And I've got the red string to a picture of that blonde chick. And I've written something to tell you, ? And then from Holden, I've got Naomi with the red string, a picture of her, and it says OPA terrorist, maybe? And then from him, I've got the scopuli. And then from the scopuli, I've got two things. And I've got crystal shit, ? And then I've got Julie. And then Julie Miles connected to Miller. And Miller's connected to the prostitute and his partner. And they're both connected. And then I've written the word knife in there. And I'm just like, guys, it's all connected. How do you not see? They're all connected. I'm just losing my mind. I don't know. I like how everything's interweaved and connected. Oh, I almost forgot. There's that third party faction that I don't know anything about. Let's full screen this. And let's see what surprises are in store for us now. So this is the date. I forget his name. She's delighting Gale. I forget his name. Did he say Medina?
Yeah, sorry to keep you waiting. We've been busier than usual.
Medina. Busy Batico. Nationality series. Place of birth section 12. Level 42. Male. Place of issue. Date of expiration. Restrictions. Thumbprints. Got some Arabic. Okay.
We found Martian naval tech in the beacon that lured us to the Scopuli, and then you
It's true. I did forget about that.
This is Captain
So this
Teresa
could be
Yao
the
of MCRA
third faction.
Dodger.
What am I looking at here? 4 pieces of space debris, some type of obsidian rock. No. These have thrusters. What the hell is this? These are ships or some type of drone or something. They've got, yeah. Dude, those ships are cool as hell.
6 bandits.
Okay, fighters. So this new faction is not related to Mars, but somehow has equivalent technology to Mars, or better. And Earth doesn't, I don't want to say Earth doesn't appear to have the technology for it, but for some reason Earth doesn't have stealth tech. Mars does have stealth tech, but all of Mars's stealth tech has been accounted for, at least from what they've told us. So I don't know if it's some Mars splinter group or something that's like doing the speed thing where you're spoofing the security camera. It's like, no, it's all here. It's all here. When really it's not. I don't know about that, but there's somehow, I think Earth is here and Mars is here in terms of power levels. And this is probably like here-ish? A little bit higher maybe? If they can get hands on me, punishment is death. Again, doing the same thing where you're switching the focus between the background and the foreground to show a relation between the two. The words that he's saying is related to her as well as to the broader narrative of the story. Really? You just think you just got it?
Nervous.
I'm gonna say this is intentional just because of how intentional everything else is. The leaves falling down, signifying the change of the seasons, the death of this for the rebirth of something new to come in there. I don't think normally I would ever stop and be like, okay, the leaves are important, the season that they're in is important. But I think with how intentional they've been with everything else, I think there's a specific reason why they're using this color palette and they're showing these leaves falling down, as that also ties into some type of like changing of the old guard or changing of the way that you used to think about things to make way for new growth or new life or a new methodology, essentially. People throw rocks.
We are nothing like you. The only thing Earthers care about is government handouts.
True. I just got my stimulus, man. Chill out, dog. Chill. Chill. Dude, these guys look pretty cool. It's almost like he's ready to go play laser tag.
Lock PDCs and engage.
Okay, I mean, when he touched it, that locks it. I mean, you got to imagine that's what that's doing. And then you have to infer that it's also biometrically tagged to the people on the ship, because otherwise Holden could just like, all right, dude, I'm free. It's whatever. Remember to cunt. Sorry, man. What the hell?
No license required.
I don't give a crap about that.
All right, because maybe that'd be gambling or something. I'm here for the girl. I got confused because I was waiting to see how it played out. What I was thinking, because the nameplate says busy, so then I'm thinking maybe this is a funeral and they're celebrating it and watching old clips. But then I thought, well, I don't think anybody else knows he's dead because he died in the riot, which happened just yesterday. And in the timeline, maybe it's 4, 5, 6 hours. So yeah, that struck me as weird. And I was trying to figure out okay, whatever. I was trying to figure out how they'd approach that. Who is that dead guy and who is this guy? But it's not a bad place to actually ask questions about it, right? If Julie was a thrill seeker, she might have been involved in something like that. So even though his dude is dead, it's still not the worst place to ask questions. Yeah, this is not the appropriate time to negotiate that. You have no leverage in this negotiation. And this is the second time the Mormons have been brought up. In this case, they're also presenting the Mormons as having significant financial backing and power and influence. But they've not... You've seen Buddhist statues, I believe. I could be wrong. You've seen Buddhist statues in the Indian lady's house in the background. And that's kind of it. You haven't seen any other sort of religious significant items, like just generic crosses or anything like that. There's never been any talk of religion before the Mormons. So I'm wondering how they became the most prominent ones, is that's how it comes across, and why, and then what actually their influence is. holistically on all three, on the Earth, on Mars, and then on all the places in between there. And okay, so this third party is much more advanced than Mars. Earth, colonies, Earth, Mars, and these dudes are somewhere way up here. They sent 5 fighters, I believe. And those 5 fighters are able to really aggressively hammer on a capital ship due to their advanced speed, their maneuverability, the sensors they have in there, their torpedoes, the rail guns. I've never seen stuff like this before. They also have stealth technology, so you have to imagine maybe somewhere else in the fight there's a bigger frigate or corvette or something like that coming in. But yeah, this new faction is like is way above Mars. My little baggie.
Huh? Everything's gonna
Want
be
some
okay,
string
okay?
cheese?
This is
There we
gonna
go.
come Right down.
The whole thing. The
Trust
whole
me. We're all gonna be
thing.
just fine.
Somebody died. Oh my days.
We need to plug the holes!
Holy shit. Jesus. It's a welding gun. Holy shit. Okay. It's not welding, it's some type of gel. Tim shell? Okay, I don't think I know that name. Fuck me.
Railgun 1 is down, master caution is lit.
Shit. Okay. Well, okay, it's important to note how powerful those railguns are. It pierced through about 7 layers in total, right? I think in that one shot, there's 3 or 4 before you get outside. Then it continued piercing on through him. Again, showing the level of power that those ships have. And then what just happened here is Holden saw the gun, but didn't go for the gun. So then they're having this conversation here. Okay, this guy's not with them. Naomi might still be, but this guy's not going to try and grab the gun and like do anything weird here. They look scared. Even she looks scared. She said earlier, my crew has only been in simulations. It's not good for combat. Insinuating she's been in situations, right? My crew, as opposed to all of us have only been in simulations. And even the commander looks scared. It's a little harder to breathe, it seems like.
I figure we have
Yeah.
maybe 20.
He's an earther. He uses the most air. He should do it. I can carry you. You can't carry me.
It's also true. It's also true. And the background, it's got him blurred out. Ugh. Dude, and it's worth noting. It's worth noting how shocking it was, but it's also worth noting how it's affected me. I'm upset by that character's death, and this is episode 4, and he died like kind of near the beginning of episode 4. And they've had at least 3 different storylines, so they've been moving between each of the different storylines. So very good job to introduce a character and give him his own conflicts, and then have him grow through those conflicts when they first got on the ship, and then he overcame that to help him out. They've established sort of a bond between these two characters, and then just the surprise of that death and the impact on this character's fate. And he's a really good actor too, to sell all that stuff. I don't know. I just wanted to call it, like, I'm actually feeling upset and sad that that character is dead, and that's worth, I don't know, appreciating, because it was done very well. I like his little demon head pen. Goes with the tattoo he has on his arm here, on his forearm here. You want to split the little drug? Battle Brothers. Oh shit! I can sneak away from the battle. Suits look cool as hell. Nah, I got it. I don't need to follow protocol or procedure. I got you right here, baby. And he's okay. About here. Oh.
Well, it's not like I'm hurting the guy.
I mean, maybe it's some type of CS:GO thing where the guy who's taking bets already knows the dudes are dead, but he's just replaying stuff, right, to collect money. Maybe it's some type of CS:GO weapon skin lottery where it's rigged. Her phone is not scratched or broken. You can get this guy killed and then show him dying off-world, and no one really questions it. And with the spoofing that he had, it would take too long for the cops to normally be able to run through that before they showed the video of him dying off-world, where all of the people who actually care would have been betting and been in that ecosystem and would have heard, oh, this guy's dead. Okay, we don't have to worry about it anymore. That's how it be. You know, that's how it be. Word? Oh, shit. Word. You don't hear the sound of gunfire anymore. Are these all the Mormons? Did they get aggressive? Their bodies were incinerated. We found them refrozen to the ice walls. So, okay, it wasn't crystal shit, it's ice. But there were no bodies on the scopuli that I remember. I mean, remember that suit that's floating that didn't have a body in it? I mean, depends on incinerated. If they were all ash. But it looked like that one guy was getting sucked into something. Flagship Mars. Dunzos. Mission 0 ready. On activation, ship will detonate immediately. Word. Not even like a countdown. Word. Cutoff system will not operate after both keys are inserted. Scuttle procedure requires 2 authorized operators ready and present and set condition 0 for all decks and general quarters. Remaining crew have reached minimum safety. Perform insertion. Both activation keys and verify turn left key. Okay. All right. Can someone let me know what MCRN actually stands for? Mars Company Royal Navy? I also don't think I know what OPA stands for. People's Alliance, People's Assembly, People's... What does OPA and MCRN stand for? All right. It's like maybe he got shot in the leg or got some shrapnel in the leg. Oh, shit. This guy's got a noob tube. Holden's going to go back and pull him. That's what I would do. Hook her in, give her a kick, go backwards. Hell yeah. Look at his suit, man. That's so sick.
What about the others?
Sparking, steaming, that's pretty sick. Look, everybody, we all knew everybody else was going to die but Lopez. Let's be honest. We all knew everybody else was going to die. Alex, you awake, buddy? You going to pilot for us? What? What? Climb up there.
All systems for everyone now on board.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
You got it.
Go, baby. There we go. There we go, son. Small arms fire, is that even going to make it through the hole? I wouldn't imagine so. Yes. Excellent. Still trying to figure it out. I made a hole, guys. I found us a way through. I turned off autoplay, hoes. Okay, my guy died. Shed died, so I gotta have a new guy. Wow, okay. All right, the Indian plotline is the easiest one. So the Indian plotline is just setting up for future episodes with the changing of the seasons, with the story that her husband, I'm just gonna call him her husband, is reading to the grandkids or the other kids there, painting a picture of things to come. What's currently in place is going to die off and change to make room for what's new. And then what the kid is saying about stones and rocks being thrown around just carries a theme for the rest of the series moving forward. Miller's thing is pretty interesting in that the only thing I can think of now is I thought he died in the riot as just a casualty of the riot, but then they specifically state he was murdered. And then thinking about him on that ship and he dies, and then making the joke about the CSGO thing, I'm actually thinking, okay, maybe that there's actually some credence to that. Maybe he knew something he wasn't supposed to know, and they'll find that out in his data block or data key, whatever. And that you get rid of this puzzle piece and you can cover it up by just having him be a part of the slingshot crew and dying. And then you kind of solve all your problems right there. Get rid of the information he has. No one is none the wiser. You can dump his body in the riot, and because of the spoofing thing, it'll take the police X amount of time before they actually figure out who that person is. And if it wasn't a cop like Miller, they never would have just directly gone there and gone into the gambling ring and started asking questions around there. I'm a little surprised that nobody there knew who Julie was, as I could have seen her being a thrill seeker, being a part of that crew, but I guess not. The big thing, so Holden's thing, wow, okay. I like how he is stepping more into the role of the captain, and it's really showing him naturally grow into a position of caring about his team and willing to sacrifice for his team and not leaving his team behind. The thing with Shed, like I mentioned earlier in the thing, I think that was really well done. Me actually caring about the character, I think, shows that it was handled with a lot of intelligence and grace, and it was done very well. And the actor did an amazing job of portraying that. And when the little drug is floating towards him, you hear that noise. What's happening? Somebody just died. I think something happened. I was thinking, did like a piece of the wall fall off? Did a wrench fall on somebody? It's like, what happened? Something's not good, but I don't know what happened. And then they cut to him, and it's pretty rough. So that was really good. I liked how Holden goes out of his chair and specifically ignores the gun to go right to the body of the guy. I think it helps portray his character and what his priorities are. And that helps Lopez immediately trust him a little more and be open to his deal to rescue the rest of his crew. And then again, we also learn more about the other faction. And like I was saying there, I think it's pretty clear the level of technology that this new faction has over Mars, which I think is technologically superior to Earth by a pretty big margin. 4, 5, or 6 of their fighters are able to take out the Donagers' defense systems and get in close enough to enable boarding parties, which I'm not sure where they came from. Maybe they were stealth. Maybe it's not important. A bunch of their boarding parties to land in. Their suits are more advanced. They can cauterize wounds like immediately as soon as he blasted that arm off or whatever, just sealed up. So you have to imagine maybe they also have combat stims or some other stuff in the suit too. So yeah, I'm excited, and I don't know where they go from there in terms of Holden's story. There's no like big cliffhanger of, oh, the Martians capture him. Where do they go from there? So I have no idea. Did they again just float in space for a while and send another SOS out and try to hope? Or did they head in a direction and maybe go to Mars, or maybe go to Ceres, or maybe go to another space station and they have their own separate thing? Yeah, I don't know. Now, all right, episode's done. I got nothing more to say about it. Thumbs up, dual wield thumbs up. Jamming. If you don't care about the jammer stuff, this is not important. My issue with the jammers, and again, hopefully I can explain where I'm coming from well enough that even if you don't agree with the conclusion I get to, you can at least empathize and understand the logic that I took to get there. I don't think there's any real big logical leaps that I'm taking in explaining this, or why that specific thing bothered me so much. So in removing from the Expanse, like going one step higher, script writing, storytelling in general, you trim down most of the time. I mean, unless you're on YouTube, then you pad out your content to hit 10 minutes. But most of the time, space is very limited and it's very tight, and you aggressively have to cut things in order to fit that time limit, which means dialogue, spoken dialogue, is extremely important. The cinematography and what you focus on in a particular scene is very important. The audio stingers, the audio cues, the musical themes that play for characters, whatever, that's very important. You don't have the time to just have characters say anything and everything. You don't have the time to have the camera just completely pan around and show everything in a specific scene. You got to be pretty direct. And that has resulted in something you've probably heard, Chekhov's gun. It's essentially a heuristic wherein if you show significance to a gun or a prop or an item, that item needs to be resolved before the end of the show or episode, or, you know, in the series at a certain point. If you have the character sitting at a table and right above them is a gun, and it's clearly established, like this is prominent, you're showcasing all of that, that gun needs to be fired before the end of the movie, whatever it is. So if I have a character who loves peanut butter and carries around a jar or a tub or a can of peanut butter, if I have a guy who's carrying around Jif all the time and he keeps talking about, I love peanut butter, I eat peanut butter all the time, later on in the story, I should have the peanut butter factory get taken over by the villain, and that causes my guy to become Super Saiyan. Or in the post-apocalypse, he can no longer get peanut butter, and that causes him to snap and kill everybody. If you don't resolve that item that you've established is important, right? For insignificant things, it doesn't matter. But for important stuff, if you don't resolve it, then you cut it entirely. Him loving peanut butter doesn't move the story forward, has no significance in the story, so you cut it. You just remove it, okay? It's not important. So the line with the jamming thing is just confusing me from a storytelling perspective, because you don't need that line. Imagine if Alex didn't say that line at all. Narratively, nothing changes. He puts the SOS out, that scene's over. Then the next scene, the Martians capture them. Then at the start of episode 3, his message is there. Him saying their jammers are in range does nothing narratively for this. It does something in relation to the other threads going at the same time, but specifically that one thread, it does nothing. It would be as if I ended an episode of a short film and I had a character say, hey guys, I'm not sure if we can go on vacation. It's looking like it's going to rain. And then the very next episode, everybody's just out and we're having a picnic and there's not a raindrop to be had. And it's sunny and bright and beautiful. And no one mentions, hey man, it's a good thing you were wrong about the weather. Or, hey, this is one of the few times you've been wrong about rain coming in. Or, yeah, you were right about the rain, but we just wanted to go on vacation so much that we wanted to go on this picnic so much that we drove another 4 hours to get out of range of it. It's weird to bring up something and then never touch on it again. And that was also a disconnect to me, was there's no sort of celebratory or congratulatory or even a mocking statement to the Martians at the start of episode 3. Something like, we know you killed the Canterbury, you can kill us, but you can't stop the truth. You know, the message got out. There's no further lines of dialogue or explanation as to how that message got out, which leads to him saying their jammers are in range being completely pointless. You just can remove it entirely and nothing changes. So the reason that line is in there is because you want to keep the tension up in that scene as you flip to another story thread. There's essentially 3 threads going on at the same time. I believe you have Holden's, Miller's, and then the Indian lady, and they're all doing different things. So, okay, as we cut from Holden, we need to introduce another obstacle or a conflict to keep the viewer like, oh man, what's going to happen as we move to the next story thread. And typically, like, you want to keep the pace of all of them around the same. I mean, unless specifically that's the point of the story. Hey, we're going to have our knights be fighting on the front lines and we'll cut to another little ambush that's happening there. And then our third thread, we cut to the king and he's just chilling and eating food. And we show the juxtaposition between all this death and drama and tension, and then just cut to this guy. And that's important to the story, the juxtaposition between that. But typically you want to keep the tension and the pace around the same. As you move into the different acts, all of the threads should kind of follow that to keep it consistent for the viewer so that they can keep buying into the different threads and keep that momentum going forward. So I would suggest a rewrite of Alex's dialogue. I would include a comma and about 7 words. I would have him say, I wouldn't get your hopes up. We're in range of their jammers, comma, and there's a good chance the message won't go through. Or there's a good chance it won't get out. Something like that. That achieves the goal of keeping the tension up as you immediately cut from that thread to the other thread. It also properly sets the expectation for the viewer that there is a possibility the message could still get out. There is a greater possibility that it doesn't, which keeps them like, oh man, what's going to happen? Are they going to get it out, or are they just going to get captured and like nothing's going to happen? It also means you don't have to write any extra dialogue or address it at all in in episode 3. If my rain character said, hey man, there's a good chance that it's going to rain, you don't necessarily need to bring that up again in the next episode. Okay, there's no rain. He said there's a chance it could rain. You can kind of bring up the rain problem and resolve it immediately without it just lingering for no reason. And it also sets the expectation for the viewer moving forward about how that technology works. That's why I laughed when jamming got brought up here, because we have a character who says jamming specifically, oh, here's a new type of technology, here's a new keyword that's been introduced, but we just ignore it. We sidestep it for there. But then we reintroduce it and it does exactly what you would think it should do. And that made me laugh, because you can still achieve that and properly set the expectation for how jamming works by saying there's a good chance that it won't go through. And then you can kind of infer from there what people in the comments are saying. Okay, maybe it's not turned on, maybe it's not attuned to the right frequency, maybe they're not prepared to intercept this type of message. Oh, now we're getting jammed, and then you see the repercussions of being jammed. Everything gets blocked out. Communications aren't going through. Your own LCD screens, your own screens internally to the ship aren't really working. So that's where the disconnect came from. And I tried looking this up online. I tried looking up episode 2 and episode 3 discussion jammer. How did Holden's message get through? It's not very good keywords to do a Google search. I literally didn't find a single thread or post talking about what I'm talking about. So I'm completely willing to admit and accept that, okay, maybe I just completely went off in a wrong direction here. But that was why it bothered me so much. And that's why at the start of episode 3, I'm like, wait a minute, but you just said you brought in the concept of jamming, and then we just completely ignore it, and not a single character is like, yeah, it made it through. They didn't get it in time. Something like it. No one ever says any line like that to like resolve that idea. So that's how I went off in that. Okay, so maybe the episode is his message getting out is the ending, sort of, and then we go back in time and show like him fighting through them fighting through the Donager to get the message out. Like, and that could be kind of cool. So yeah, hopefully, even if you don't agree with the conclusion I came to and the rewrite and my suggestion for improving that, hopefully if you don't agree with that, you can at least go, okay, yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. I had no issues with it, but I can see how the rewrite, or I can see how conceptually that would be a little weird for a character to bring up something that's completely ignored. I can see how like the rain thing would be a little weird. But yeah, it's a good thing I put this at the end, I think, because this probably went on for a while. Anyway, the homie got his head blown off. Lopez maybe is going to die because he said it would have been nice to see an ocean on Mars. And that's kind of something that you say right before you pass on into the afterlife. But I was not expecting a character to die. I was not expecting a character to die like that. So yeah. All right. Episode 5, we'll go from there.